"Remove that decoration," the judge said sharply, pointing at the Navy Cross pinned to the disabled Marine's jacket. "This is a court, not a parade." Gasps rippled through the room, but Captain Mara Donovan didn't argue. She simply reached up, touched the medal once and stood. The judge smirked, entirely unaware of the man who had just entered behind her through the secure rear entrance. His face drained of color. What happened next ended his career in seconds. Mara had entered the county courthouse slowly, her gait uneven despite months of physical therapy, walking with a carved wooden cane bearing Marine Corps insignia. Beside her walked Atlas, her certified German Shepherd service dog. The Navy Cross, second only to the Medal of Honor, rested prominently on her dress uniform jacket. While the lobby onlookers had whispered with visible admiration, the judge presiding over her civil property case viewed it with unmistakable disdain. As she approached the witness stand, he cleared his throat with theatrical loudness. "Ma'am," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. "Military decorations are inappropriate and distracting in this courtroom." "Sir, it's part of my authorized dress uniform," Mara replied calmly. The judge slammed his gavel. "Remove it immediately. Now." A shocked whisper drifted through the gallery. Several spectators recognized her from the news. She was the Marine Corps officer who had saved 14 soldiers during a coordinated mountain ambush, sustaining permanent injuries that ended her operational career. "Is he serious? That's a Navy Cross," someone muttered. But the judge leaned back with arrogant satisfaction. "This courtroom operates under my rules. Remove the medal or leave the premises immediately." Atlas shifted uneasily, sensing his handler's rising distress. Mara inhaled deeply, steadying herself against the physical pain of her injuries and the emotional sting of public disrespect. She didn't launch into an argument. Instead, she reached up with her right hand, the one that still functioned properly after severe nerve damage, and gently traced the bronze cross. Then she nodded once, turned her back on the judge, and began a slow, painful walk toward the exit. The judge smiled smugly, believing he had won. He hadn't noticed the four-star general who had just stepped into the room. The general's intervention. Mara rendered the best salute her damaged shoulder could manage. General Thomas Readington, Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps, returned it with crisp precision. He then looked toward the elevated bench with absolute ice, a cold fury reserved for profound injustice. The judge blinked in sudden confusion. "And who might you be?" "General Thomas Readington, United States Marine Corps." The general stepped forward, his boots striking the floor with authority. "And she is Captain Mara Donovan, the most decorated Marine officer I have personally commissioned in 30 years of service." The entire courtroom held its collective breath. The judge swallowed visibly, tightening his grip on his gavel. "This is a civilian court of law, not a military installation." "Correct assessment," the general replied with dangerous calm. "Which is precisely why you should thoroughly understand the relevant law." He produced a sealed legal folder and handed it to the court clerk. "This document contains the federal statute protecting military dress and authorized decorations in all federal and state legal proceedings." As the clerk read rapidly, her eyes widening, the judge's face drained of color. "You don't understand the context," he stammered. "I was simply enforcing courtroom decorum. And you violated federal protection statutes," the general interrupted with cutting finality. "You attempted to forcibly remove a Navy Cross from a permanently disabled Marine officer who earned it through extraordinary valor under enemy fire." "She's a hero," someone whispered from the gallery. The general turned to address the room, his voice radiating full authority. "Allow me to explain the context, since basic respect seems notably absent today. Captain Donovan's unit was ambushed near Mount Kashar. 2 full squads were trapped beneath a rockslide triggered by enemy explosives. Captain Donovan crawled through 300 meters of active gunfire with a shattered knee to reach wounded Marines. She physically dragged 14 wounded Marines one by one across steep, unstable terrain. When reinforcements arrived 6 hours later, they found her unconscious from severe blood loss, using her own body to shield a wounded private from enemy fire. The judge's hands trembled against his bench. "That medal," the general stated, pointing directly at her chest, "represents a level of courage you will never comprehend from your comfortable position of authority. Your action alone warrants immediate disciplinary review. Judgment and legacy." Mara lifted her voice, soft but controlled. "Sir, may I speak directly?" The general stepped aside. Mara moved forward carefully. "Your Honor, I came to this courthouse today for a straightforward property dispute. Just seeking basic fairness under the law." But when you ordered me to remove my Navy Cross, you didn't merely insult me. You insulted every single Marine who didn't survive to come home and wear their own medals. With deliberate care, Mara unpinned her Navy Cross and placed it gently on the table directly in front of the judge's bench. If my sacrifice and service offend your sense of proper courtroom decorum, she said with devastating calm, then you may keep this medal. The entire room gasped. The general stepped forward, but stopped when he realized what she was doing. It wasn't surrender. It was a judgment far more powerful than any legal proceeding could deliver. The judge stared at the medal on his desk, utterly speechless. Within 48 hours, a formal judicial ethics investigation was opened. Recognizing that no defense could overcome the documented facts and public outrage, the judge resigned before the first hearing, issuing a brief statement admitting he had failed to uphold the dignity owed to veterans. The very courtroom where Mara had been humiliated was later designated to host quarterly veteran ceremonies. At the inaugural event, General Readington approached Mara, carrying a presentation case containing her Navy Cross, professionally cleaned and restored to pristine condition. This medal never belonged on that judge's desk, he said quietly. It belongs exclusively with the Marine who earned it. Mara accepted the case, her eyes glistening. She didn't need public vengeance. She simply needed her dignity restored. Surrounded by the very Marines she had saved on that mountain, she received exactly that. Her property dispute was later resolved in her favor by a different judge, and Mara went on to teach leadership ethics at a military academy, ensuring that a single moment of injustice was transformed into a lasting legacy of respect.